Hey, so I wanted to make sure that all of our leaders were online. This is our first meeting for our book club. Brandi is the visionary and she is the leader of this book club. And I want to commend her for taking the lead. One of my visions was that we could pull something together like this so that we can all hold each other accountable. There's a quote that says that no one reads the same book. So that means that we all have different interpretations of a book. So when we can come together and get different ideas and understandings and meet with the author and see what they wanted the reader to get out of a book or us to get out of a book, to me that's powerful. You guys know my saying. It's if the average American reads one book a year. So we could come together as millionaire-minded, wealthy-minded individuals and commit to reading 12 books a year. In the next 2 to 3 years, we'll be in the top 5% of the people in our industry, of the experts in our industry. That means that knowledge is power. So this day is very significant to me because us committing, we got almost 30 people online right now. So us committing to say, hey, I'm going to read one book a year. We're going to a new year. A lot of people have goals and ambitions and New Year's resolutions. But to me, knowledge is the most powerful tool that you could ever have. So the first book that we launched is one of my dear friends, one of my best friends, Nathalie, Nicole Smith, Becoming a Brand. I think that all of us are launching businesses and ideas and opportunities and thinking about businesses. We all are a brand. So whether we have a business or not, we are a brand. So we need to be in alignment with that. So I'm grateful for all of my leaders that joined, whether you're my business partner, whether you're one of my life partners, whether you are one of my on my wealthy team. I'm grateful that you showed up. And now I want you to continue to show up, and let's continue to follow Brandi's lead. I love Brandi. She's a part of our life team. She runs our life complex in Michigan. She is a great person, and she'll tell you a little bit about herself, but she had a book club before, so she's very in tune with it. So everybody, before I introduce Brandi, go get your wine. I got champagne, but go get your wine. And we're gonna do a toast before we even get started, because this is the genesis of something that will continue to happen for years to come. Our children and their children will know that we were on Zoom every week, and we were celebrating new books and new opportunities, and now we're connecting with like-minded people from all over the world. It's people right now in this group from all over the world. And now we can say we're a part of a book club that's not just transforming communities, but transforming our families. So now we're able to teach our families and our children. This is powerful. So I'm gonna give a toast as I introduce Brandi, and I just want everybody to virtually give a toast for generational wealth, for generational knowledge, and for all the things that are going to come. In the next year of our lives are going to be one of the greatest years of our lives. Why? Because we have knowledge. So repeat after me. Knowledge is the new money.
The new money.
Knowledge is the new money.
So when I say when I say wealth, you say nation. Wealth.
Nation.
Wealth.
Nation.
Nation.
You got the floor. I'm done.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Coach DeMont. Again, I am very humbled and happy to be here. This is an exciting moment for me because I am leading a book club virtually. So this is a new space for me with the virtual setting. However, yes, I do have an experience in running a book club out of my salon. So I just started with a little bit about myself first. My name is Brandi Ferrell. I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I love to read. I aspire to be an author myself. I have a background in the cosmetology field as a stylist and as an educator. And I love to teach as much as I love to learn. I will be a host and discussion leader for the Woke Book Club, and Woke stands for Wealth of Knowledge and Education. So hopefully you're here to read and learn, discuss, and take in a lot of information that you can also apply to your life. I want to first start by asking everyone to, kind of state your name and where you're from. You can either put it in the chat box, or you are, I know we might have a time where we'll talk over each other, but just kind of state your name and where you're from, just so we can get a feel for the audience. Go right ahead.
My name is Coach Demar. I live in Los Angeles.
LA, welcome.
I'm Karen from Indianapolis, Indiana.
Shadow Red, I live in Vegas right now, hailing from Jersey, New York City.
Okay.
Detroit, Michigan.
Real quick, if you're a partner with the Life franchise, please state your name and where you're from in the chat box so that we can get a head count of you guys, okay? But go right ahead.
Gwen Schaefer, Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Welcome, welcome.
Bridget Bowman, Indianapolis, Indiana.
Welcome.
Joshua Smiley, Indianapolis, Indiana.
I don't see as many faces here. You guys scared to turn your cameras on?
My leaders know to turn their cameras on.
My name is Michael Rappaport. I'm from Amsterdam.
Welcome, welcome.
Chauncey David Jacobs from Richmond, California.
Welcome.
Kevin Thompson. I'm from Alaska.
Alaska, wow.
Kevy from Los Angeles.
I feel like that was a joke. Alaska.
Jonathan Lewis from Houston, Texas, now in LA.
Now in LA, welcome.
Hi, I'm Stacy from Indianapolis.
Just so you know.
Hey, I see someone from Alabama. All right.
Yes, Michael Hollis, Alabama.
Fantastic. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So thank you everybody for coming. Happy to be, here with this book. If you have the book, please put a 7 in the chat if you have the book.
Y'all getting on my nerves with this shit.
Completed the book, put 100 in the chat.
Somebody got to make sure they on mute.
Okay, I see a 50. Yeah, I want to see how many 100s we get. This book is 118 pages. It's a very small book. It's almost like a pamphlet. What I like about this book is that it's like a workbook as well. So you see my little sticky notes in there. So this is a very unique book. Okay, I see that we got a handful of people. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that has completed this book. So there should be no excuses as why you couldn't chime into the discussion. With that being said, so I'm excited to hear your feedback on that. Okay, great. So, and then we got some people we still got to get the book in the hands of. You can go on Amazon.com and order this book. It's $19.99. I got mine in 2 days. It's definitely a great read. It's an easy read, but it's more of an interactive read. So you do want to get your hands on it and get involved with it. Moving forward, I would like to just kind of ask everyone to try to keep your microphones on mute so that we can have the opportunity, whoever has the floor, to discuss and not interrupt them as we go in. I highly recommend that you use the chat box as much as possible. I do have someone supporting me to go over any questions or comments that's in the chat box that I may not get to myself directly, which it also helps eliminate a lot of interruptions. Running a big book club, I'm used to doing this in a physical form in a small salon of in a salon suite. So doing this on virtual is a little different. However, I also did support a book club where we did it by calling in on a conference call, and we actually went right down the list and allowed people to kind of just give their feedback. So there's so many different ways that you can go about reading a book and engaging in a book with an audience. So we're just going to start here with what I got, and we'll learn as we go, and we'll learn as we grow together. I want to put something in the chat, and I'm also going to recite it, and I want to see if you guys know where this came from. It is a quote. It's a trivia question for me. It is a quote, and I want to see who knows where or who this quote came from. And the quote states, the more that you
whoever answers it gets a free wealthy shirt.
Wealthy shirt. Okay, sounds good. The more that you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. Does anybody know who wrote that?
Dr. Seuss.
Who said that?
Faith.
Faith?
Hey, man, I was Googling it and she beat me to it.
You are a winner for the wealthy shirt, the free wealthy shirt. That is correct.
Thank you.
The children's book author, but is one of the most phenomenal authors of my pastime. I don't know about you guys. He has a lot of knowledge in his children's books that I will still read to this day. But yes, that is the quote from Dr. Seuss. So you'd be surprised what information you can pick up from so many different avenues, so many different platforms, just by reading a book. So yes, that is Faith. Can I get your last name?
Jackson, Jackson.
And what is your city and state?
Indianapolis, Indiana.
Now, Miss Faith, are you a life partner?
I don't know if you would say that. I'm in several things. You guys had the credit club, and then I forgot what the name of the other one was. I got signed up with, I believe, with Erica. So I'm not sure what if you're saying like a leader or something. I'm not any type of leader. I've actually signed up with other programs you guys have.
Who was your credit coach for the credit club you were in?
Let me see, because it got switched. I know her face because she was managing the Facebook. What I can say you.
We want to find out so we can get your information. What I'll do is, do you mind sharing the email?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you
I
want
can
to
do that.
for the shirt, if you want to put your your email in the Zoom chat, then we can get you your shirt.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much for answering that question. Moving forward, so I just want to talk about the book, of course, that's why we're here. The author, Nathalie Nicole Smith, has dedicated this book to a market of solo entrepreneurs on a budget for the understanding of the reader to need to leverage the relationships, because degrees and qualifications alone will not only be the factors of your brand. Well, they won't be the only factors of your brand. So why is building a brand important? Can anybody share that with me?
Because people connect with brands more than they connect with, per se, people connect with stories. And a good story is what creates a good brand. You know, when we think about Nike or McDonald's, Apple, we think of like the things that are associated with them, like LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. Those are like stories, those are names, those are things that we can represent with greatness. Same thing with Apple. All their commercials are never like selling the phone. Sorry, I'm eating. It's more so like all their commercials are just highlighting an ideal. You know, Apple commercials really don't be having nothing about the product until like the very end they show the product, because they're trying to associate a feeling with that product for you. So I was kind of all over the place, but that's what I think about with branding and how you make people associate a feeling with you.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. There's no wrong answer here. We're learning, we're giving feedback and opinions. So I can't say that you're wrong. I do want to narrow it down into the question of what the actual brand is. And the brand is how you represent your image or your business to the outside world. So a brand is whatever the customer or the person outside of you perceive what you're representing. And so the brand can be a personal brand or it can be a business brand. Does anybody else want to give their perspective on what a brand is to them?
I say a brand is, this is Karen. I say a brand is like you said, it represents who you are. So like for me, if you was into the hair business, well, then the hair will represent your brand, represent what what you stand for. Ethical, you have to have morals, because you definitely don't want any negativity for your brand. So just stand by what you for what you are.
Right. Well, I like how you brought up the example of, hair being an example. A lot of times, as a hairstylist myself, I don't get the opportunity to keep my hair up to par as I would for someone else. So a lot of times people don't know just by looking at me that I'm a hairstylist if I don't have or represent that image of a hairstylist. And a lot of times it comes back and it could bite me in the behind if no one knows to request my services because I'm not representing or demonstrating those services. But a brand is how you represent your personal image or also your company image. And another thing is with the brand, the representation of the brand is what a customer gravitates to. Buy into. The quality and authenticity is where the value is placed. Whenever you don't live up to those key elements, it makes it hard for the customer to continuously buy into what you're selling. So I had this idea of someone can give me an example of what a personal brand and a business brand affects each other. Someone who also is a representation of what a personal brand and a business brand. Actually, Jonathan, you mentioned somebody like LeBron James. What is his business brand and what is his personal brand? And how can they affect each other?
You want me to answer that?
Yes.
Okay. Basically, like LeBron James' brand is, he's a 4-time NBA All-Star champion. His brand is greatness at this point. His legacy, he always used the hashtag strive for greatness. And then when you pair that with the Nike that has been taken to the top of the sports world by Michael Jordan, who also represents that same thing, and the Kobe Bryant, it's just really, they go hand in hand. So it's an easy, automatic symbiosis type thing where, you put a personal brand like a LeBron James with a company like Nike that uses people like a LeBron James to make sure that their customers think of them in that same light that they think of LeBron James. So really the companies need the personal brands more than the personal brands need the companies, but they work together.
Yeah, definitely. So going into the book, thank you so much for that feedback, Jonathan, by the way. Going into the book, I got some things I wanted to point out for those that have read thus far. What were the 5 personal brand keys that the author stated we should think about when reading this book? Does anybody know? Can anybody give me those 5 brand keys? Nobody? Well, I'll just state them and then we can go over some information based on it. One of the 5 keys are your personal brand should reflect the real you, who you are internally. And 1, it should communicate what's inside of you to the outside world. It should speak for you in your absence. For example, like Jonathan just mentioned, LeBron James, one of his brand is greatness. We know to associate that with LeBron James because that's what he's been pushing as his brand. It should be your stamp of authority. People should be able to recognize and respect it and understand it by seeing your brand. And it should give you the ability to monetize. So those are the 5 personal brand keys that the author Nathalie Nicole Smith stated. I do want to, let me see here. I do want to give you a little bit more information on Nathalie Nicole Smith, because I didn't do that. I didn't introduce her for those who don't have the book and want to know why we're reading up on her and we're having this conversation with the author. Because when you're reading a book, you're having a discussion with 3 different people. You're having a discussion with the author who's speaking and who's writing the book. You're having a discussion with yourself. And you're also having a discussion with the people who are like, such as yourselves in the book club with us. So Nathalie Nicole Smith is a success coach, a speaker, and a serial entrepreneur who impacts lives globally. Her influence has helped thousands of women and men believe in themselves while building a brand at the same time. Nathalie is the owner of Plush RX and the founder of 501c3 Women Who Boss Network. Her purpose-driven life and the love for people who will inspire you to discover your purpose and go after your dreams. So she is someone who created her brand from the ground up, and she wanted to share with us the information on how we can utilize that same information in our own brands as solo entrepreneurs. So the 5 personal brand keys is one of the things, or 5 of the things that she wants you to recognize when reading this book, so that you know how to use that information and apply it. So I got another question. What are the 3 factors that make up a brand identity? Can anybody share that with me?
The distinctiveness, relevance, and consistency.
Your consistency, definitely your consistency. There was the first 2 that you mentioned.
Huh?
I didn't get the first 2 that you.
Distinctiveness and relevance.
I think those definitely.
What you believe in, your ability to connect with others.
Absolutely, there they are. The brand should identify what you believe. The brand should also have your ability to connect with others and your consistency, to stay consistent within your brand. So those are the 3 factors that make up the brand, as the author states there. Thank you for sharing. If you read this book, it's 118 pages, and we go through a book a month. I did the math. If you can read 4 pages a day, you'll complete this book in a month. If you read 10 pages a day, you'll finish this book in about 11. Short book. And just a couple pages makes a big difference, because it's not all reading. Like I said, there is some parts in here where she actually puts you to work and give you some tests. I haven't gotten that far. You see it's empty here. But in another area, I have filled out the information and took the time to reflect on where I'm at in my personal brand and just the information that I've gathered from her. Has anybody done this themselves, the ones that put the 100 in the chat box and completed the book? Where my 100s at? I got Tamika that completed the book. I have
Tamika. I had a feeling you were about to say my name. I was on a plane and didn't have a pen in my purse. Mm-hmm. So I did mentally go through all of the questions and really think them through. And I think a lot of the questions were thought-provoking in some areas. Because it caused me to say, hey, I don't do that, or how come I've never thought about that? So I think that the homework in the book is a good exercise to get you thinking more than anything.
Absolutely. So you said you didn't have a pen readily available when you were reading.
What? That's crazy.
That is correct, because I don't carry pens in my purse, because I'll be scared that the pen will explode in my purses, and my purses cost too much for that. So I don't carry pens with me. But nice new backpack now that I can
good one. That's a good one.
Hey, to some people, your reasons are excuses to other people, you know? So you got to do what's for you.
Excuses. Excuses are monuments of nothingness. They build bridges to nowhere. Those who use those tools of incompetence are masters of nothingness. Trust me, if I could have recorded it, I asked the airline stewardess for a pen, and she told me due to COVID, she couldn't give me one. So, hey, I tried.
But at least she read the book, and at least she bought the book. So we gotta take that into consideration. So the next meeting that we have for the book club, everybody in this group should have the book and should have read the book. And then we will have our one book done for this month. And next month, our goal will be to complete another book.
So,
is the book on Audible?
Tamika, did you say you read the entire book on a flight?
I read half of it on my way to LA, and I read the other half on the way back from LA.
That's great. Different people have different, schedules. So for me, I'm the type of person, I have to plan out so many pages to read every day, because I'm not only reading one book, I read multiple books at a time, and I break it up. So you have to figure out a reading plan that works for you, and I'm speaking for everybody. It might be to read right before you go to sleep to make sure that you get it in. It may be the first thing that you do when you wake up in the morning. It may be something you do on your lunch break. You have to find the time to fit it in. And then for those who may need it, you may not write or have a pen readily available, but you could use your phone or your mobile device and take notes or remind yourself to come back to this page and reflect on it that way. Or myself, I actually use a highlighter. I highlight through the book. I put sticky notes in my book, and I write out, things on pen and paper. That's what works for me. So, I mean, if anybody needs like any support or have any suggestions for any other people on how to help get through the book each month, please feel free to share that information, because I also am not perfect. I don't read a book every month. It may take me a couple months just because I like to make sure that I'm absorbing all the information that I read. So I almost spend more time writing than I do reading. So, but the goal is just to read one book a month. But because we're meeting every week, to get through so much of it or read at your pace, but we will move on to the next book, regardless of where everyone has left off at. But the goal is completion, to take in all the information, because the books that we're reading as well, they will have some type of connection into the next one. It's all just to pour into your brand, your business, your growth, and your wealth of knowledge in general. So hopefully everybody can get on the same page. Again, you can get this book off Amazon. I don't think it's readily available in Audible. Someone mentioned in the chat, but right now Amazon is the best way to purchase this book. All right. So for my question is, again, to the 100s that put in the chat box, somebody share with me, like, what was your biggest takeaway from the book? Because I personally have not completed it. I went through, I think I'm on page 18. So it would be nice to know, after completing the book, how has it impacted you, and what do you feel about it overall?
Me, myself, I like the assignments because it made you reflect more on yourself. It really, like for me, I cried in some sections because it really made you go deep to look at yourself. So for me, it made me get into my inner self in some sections of the assignments itself. And then just the, because I didn't have my IG set up correctly. So just, following some of this in here just to get that set up correctly. And then just also with Nathalie herself just helping me, so.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Karen, for sharing that.
Hey, I want to say on my take, like Karen was saying, the assignments, I think that's a great thing about the book, because it's not just a book that you got to read all the way through and just read words. You get to a certain point to where you actually got to use your critical thinking. So I really like that part about the book. And one of my favorite parts is the consistency part. I can honestly say that I've struggled with consistency in my life, and reading that part of the book really put something in my brain that I got to tap into that more. It's not just a thing in the air. It's something that I actually need to be successful. So what I will say about this book, it's not just a book that somebody was just trying to make some money on. It's a book that actually teaches, if you really follow the steps, I believe you really can be successful, even as successful as she is, if you really follow the steps of the book. That's my take on it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead, Coach Darnell.
I think the main thing, this is Stacy, that I took away from the book was like planning ahead. Like I've always been a person where I don't plan, I don't focus, I'm a procrastinator. I really, really have a good heart and I do want to do the right thing, but I get sidetracked by stuff. So this really helped me it was interactive and it helped me put like my focus and my planning and writing my goals down like into play, because that really helps me where I could just make a list and cross stuff out versus putting it in my head and forget about it later. So that's what I took away from this.
Go ahead, Coach Stacy.
Got a 100 for Miss Bridget. You care to share? Care to chime in?
I think what I read from the book, what I got from the book is I liked all her different steps, you know, that she had, those 22 steps that you can read. And I did take away some of her business ideals as far as the subscriptions and I was interested in the PLR products, how you can get those and make those your own. And just how she just, you know, how she just went down the line and just told how you're supposed to get from A to B. Yeah. So, you know, it was an interesting read. I mean, I read the whole book, but it was good.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. How about Tina? You got something you want to share with us from your perspective? Is Tina online? How about Gwen? Gwen, I see you put a 100. You completed the book?
Yes, I did. I agree with what Karen and Darnell said, that you know, there were parts that I got emotional as well, and it does make you think. You know, you think you have everything planned and figured out, and then you realize that you don't. And I do like that it makes you think. It makes you think.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you guys for, you know, sharing and opening up with us. There's a couple things that all of you shared that resonated with me as well. Like I said, I've only gotten to maybe 18 pages of the book, and I sat down, I did some things. If those of you who were my friend on Facebook notice that I've sent you new friend requests, that is part of the reason from reading this book. Just trying to rebrand what I'm putting out there on a personal level and on a professional level. So, and even though there's some risk with, you know, weaning out things on social media and switching over to a new platform, I look forward to the fresh air that I'm stepping into. So you got to be mindful of what you put out there, because it's a representation of who you are. But it's time consuming. It's time consuming as well to rebrand yourself, or it's time consuming just to stay consistent with branding yourself, such as Darnell mentioned as well. And then Karen said, you know, you had to sit down and really look deep into yourself and answer those questions that you typically don't get asked, and you don't ask yourself. You might ask other people's before you ask yourself. So there's a lot of self-reflecting in here. And I think that it touches a spot more than just on a professional or an entrepreneur level. It's on a personal level, because you have to start with personal in order to be something on another level anyway. Another thing that Stacy mentioned is planning ahead. I'm a real critical person when it comes to planning. I may overanalyze certain things, and overanalyzing and maybe over planning causes me to get handicapped to where it causes me to procrastinate because I want everything to be perfect. And sometimes you just gotta kind of, stay consistent with your flow and move forward. So a lot of things that everyone mentioned here also stood out to me as well. So I've made some changes in just the first 18 pages on a personal level. So reading of looking forward of what to expect. I can't wait to finish the book now that I know that some of you guys have finished it and how it has applied to yourself and the changes that you're making for yourself. So did anybody else have anything they want to chime in on at that point?
Brandi, I'm happy that this is Stacy again. That you picked this book. I don't know if you picked it, but I had already read it because I think the mind actually told us about this book a minute ago when he brought her on. And now I get a chance for the interactive part because I didn't do that part. So this is gonna be good to actually delve into it and feel the way Miss Karen was feeling. I want to feel that.
Yeah. I did not personally pick the book. It was recommended by Coach Demont to start off with this book, which I think is a great kickoff book. He knows the author personally. The author will actually be visiting us at the end of the month for the last discussion, which is on the 27th of December. So you guys look forward to that. You'll have the opportunity to pick the author's mind, give her your feedback, ask any questions. She will be here on the meet with us. So going forward, most of the books that all of the books that we will pick will have some type of, it will fall in the genre of financial literacy, education, anything that has to do with you getting the knowledge that you need to make your brand or your business or your company or even just your personal development better. We will not be reading Soldier Sister books or anything of that nature, even though that's that's my homegirl too, but that's not what this book club is for. So yes, I look forward to being, amongst you guys, like-minded individuals who always want to increase their learning. So I got another question. What is a personal brand? I know it sounds like I'm asking the same questions, but they actually do have a separate line here. But what is a personal brand? And this was something that stood out to me on page 15. If anybody has their book and they kind of want to look in there and see and want to share their perspective.
As everybody scrambles through page 15.
Okay, I'll give my perspective. I want to give someone time to speak.
Your personal brand is associated with every aspect of your life, and that brand will aid or hamper your success in life. Your personal brand is the relationships that you develop with your friends, coworkers, customers, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, and everyone with whom you have formed an alliance based on your values.
Perfect. That's exactly the answer that I was looking for. So your personal brand is the relationships that you develop with any and every source around you, which also ties into your professional brand. I wanted to use an example of Kanye West and Yeezy. We're living in this world right now where they have this cancel the artists movement going on. As soon as someone who's of the entertainment industry makes a mistake, you want to put on this facade of no, don't buy their product, no, don't buy their music, no, don't listen to their their records and things of that nature because of something that they did on a personal level. So a lot of times you have to be careful on how you expose yourself and things that you do when you become a brand that's so big, but your brand reflects everything that comes behind you. Another thing is people cannot see the inside of us, therefore that the recognition or the beliefs and abilities come from what others see us do and the perception they form from our daily observations of their day-to-day actions. So you got to be mindful of, you know, with your brand, for example, with these major brands, these labels, I guess you could say like, what is it, Tommy Hilfiger or something like that, when they make these mistakes and, you know, they're called out as racist or things of this nature, they have to do things to protect their brand, but their actions are perceived from one outside source, and it's because of what they do. People cannot tell what the inside are because they're not showing the insides every time, but they can slip up and make one minor mistake, and then now that is attached to your brand. So that's one thing that I did also want to share. So I think this was the first discussion that was kicked off pretty well. Did anybody have anything that they wanted to chime in on or give any feedback on what they've read so far? How about any direct changes that you've made, whether you fully read the book or just started it or not, from what you've gotten from Nathalie Nicole Smith on making any adjustments to your brand personally? What is that brand and what changes have you made?
Based on what you guys have said, I have the book. I have not read the book yet, but based on what you said and what we just read about your personal brand, I myself am looking to start a fitness business. So I need to reevaluate my social media and think about what I am posting on there. You know, if I do decide to have a night out with my girls, maybe I don't need to post what I'm drinking or doing because that might not reflect well for what I'm trying to do and make money for.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
I think what Chauncey just said is commendable, that she's even willing to take personal accountability for not posting everything that happens in her life because that's how people perceive her. I think that even with my brand, like you'll never see certain things that happen in my life on social media. I generally never cuss on social media, and that's because, and that's not, I cuss, but I generally never cuss in my thoughts on social media because I don't want people to perceive me as a person that's not trying to motivate and uplift. Even though some people that do what I do, they cuss and they're transparent, and that's something that they do, and that's fine because now people are able to relate to them just being themselves. But I think that when you're building your personal brand or building your business brand, you have to think about what do you perceive, like Jonathan said, when you look at Kobe, when you look at Nike, or you look at Michael Jordan, or you look at somebody who you perceive to be great, all right? Because that's why you buy their brand. Even Bounty or Palmolive or Ciroc or anything that we contribute to and buy, what do you think of first when you think of that brand? So I've had to even focus on what do people think of when they think of Coach DeMont. You know, sometimes people might think bad things, or sometimes, but it's not based upon the perception of what I put out there. So I think that what Chauncey just said is commendable, that she's willing to evaluate and go back and look at some of the things, because a lot of times for social media, we use it as a diary, and we vent and we post and we argue, and some of us, and some of us are competitive. Some of us comment on topics that maybe we shouldn't comment on topics about, you know, because that's part of our personal brand. And if you're trying to attract everybody, sometimes you have to be biased when certain situations happen. So I never comment on political things. I never comment. People know my stance on religion, but I never tear down other people because of their religions or because of their beliefs. I never go in on people about what they believe, because we all have the right to believe what we want to believe. So those are things that I learned along the way about my personal brand. So hopefully those of you that are trying to build and grow in the area of business or entrepreneur or even your personal life, like hopefully you are able to go back, like Brandi said, reevaluate your pages and what you post and realize that everything that you post is in alignment with what people think about you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that feedback, Coach DeMont. It's almost 6 o'clock, so I just got one more thing I kind of want to open up or get someone's thoughts on. Why do you think it's so sensitive, or this subject pertains to social media so much, or we reference to social media so much when it comes to our brand? Can anybody give me a reason why that would be?
Well, I would say that's probably the single most thing that I took from the book, because I probably spent a good 4 to 6 hours a day on social media because I don't watch TV and things like that, but I wasn't marketing my brand. Which how can you own multiple businesses and be on social media that much and not market your brand? I may have put a picture of a dish that I made here and there, but that was the extent of it. So I took that away from her book, saying, you should at least be doing this 2 to 3 times a day. I was probably doing it 2 to 3 times a month. And I know that will have a direct impact on the business. The other thing is, everybody's on social media now. It's the number one marketing tool out there for personal reasons and business reasons. So because of that, we have to utilize that tool in such a way that works to our benefit. And one last thing, going to a question you asked earlier, like LeBron has to watch his image and all these other celebrities, but I'm not quite a celebrity yet, but I'm a chef. And my brand, that's one of my businesses where what I do directly affects the business, because they don't just see the food, they see Chef Tamika too. So I have to be careful about how I address things, how I used to address things in the past. It's kind of like with my preschool, I still was Tamika, and I would never let anyone follow me that was not a part of that business. Now that has changed because I started doing that before social media really blew up the way that it did. But it is ultra important to make sure that you are managing it for business purposes, but making sure that you shine in such a way that you don't alienate a certain customer base.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tamika. You did touch on one of the key things that stood out to me, is because social media reaches a bigger mass of people versus, just the physical people that's around you. You're nationwide, you're international, you're worldwide. So your marketing and your brand is out there for the whole world. So you have to be very selective and very sensitive on how you present yourself. But just creating separate business pages just from your own page just won't do it unless you monitor them separately, differently. They can all link together. So it's important with social media because everybody has access to it. And it's the biggest marketing tool, like you mentioned, that we have right now. It's a platform that gives any and everybody access. And the first thing people see is what you do, how you represent it, and the visual take on it first. They don't even have to know you to make up their perception of you through social media. So it's very important on how you carry yourself on social media versus, in your private life. But you gotta be careful on how you blend the two. But you wanna stay authentic at the same time. So that's a part of growth. That's a part of, meeting in the middle by, okay, don't be this person behind the scenes, but then be this person on social media. And then that's when they end up clash, because one of those little things may come up that's very bad. And she mentioned in that book, once you make a mistake or not live up to the quality or the standard of what your brand is, it's hard to recover from that. It's hard to come back from that minor mistake you made, especially, like I said, with these bigger labels. once they see something that they don't resonate with, they're trying to get everybody to turn against you. They're trying to get everybody to, you know, not buy into your brand anymore. So it's harder to recover than to give that first original impression of what you have. So social media is a very, very, very sensitive area when it comes to representing your brand.
Can I say something before you end, Brandi?
Yes.
Hey, so I just have before we end, I have a assignment for each one of you. It's 25 days before we go into 2021, and I want you to write this question down. I know, you know, Tamika don't carry pens, but she keeps good notes in her phone, so I know all of you have good notes in your phone. So if you don't have a pen right now, just I need you to send me this question, or for you to have this question during the next meeting. And it's, what do you want for your life for 2021? I'm not talking about your goals. I'm just talking about, what do you want for your life for 2021? And then it's a two-part question. The second part is, what are you willing to do to get it? So are you willing to, Stacy said one of her problems was procrastination. Are you willing to attack procrastination? Some people's issue is childhood hurt and pain. Are you willing to attack that? Are you willing to deal with that to get what you want for 2021? Some people's problem is they just don't know. They just don't know. They don't know what they need to do. They don't know how to do a financial statement. They don't know how to build a business. They don't know how to make more money. They don't know how to generate more streams of income. They want it for their kids. They want it for their family. They just don't know. So are you willing to be a part of a community like this, where we can come together and talk about discussions and books and education and what our perspectives are on things? Are you willing to show up when it don't make sense, when you're tired? Are you willing to be committed? Many of our problems, why we're not where we need to be, is because we can't commit to nothing. We'll start out strong. We'll come to the first and the second meeting, but you'll never see us again because we got busy, or we got other things going on, or we just not interested. So are you willing to commit in 2021? So I need that. Those of you that follow me on social media or have my phone number, however you need to get it to me, what do you want for your life for 2021, and what are you willing to get it? If you're relentless and you're willing to say, hey, I'm giving up everything that I know that's holding me back and I need help. I'm going to be part of a community of people that think like me. And I don't have all the answers, and I might not unmute my phone because I'm shy, but at least I'm going to show up until I get to the point to where I can answer questions when Brandi asks questions, or I'm going to order the book, and I'm going to commit to one book a year, Demont, because if I commit to 12 books a year, that puts me in a whole nother ballpark. Most people don't even read one book a year. So what are you willing to do in 2021 to get to where you want to be? That's my stance. That's my question for each one of you. Go ahead, Brandi, close us out.
All right, I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time out on this Sunday evening to join us on the book club, just to bring your minds together and, you know, just to support each other and read more. I will say I do have a book in mind going into the next month, but I'm open to suggestions to get a nice lineup. If you have a recommendation, please email me, Brandi at Life Rewards. I'll put it in the chat box, or you can write in the chat box as well what your book recommendation is. I haven't finalized the next book, but I do want it to be adopting cryptocurrency. It is another Black author. His name is Fred Brandon. He hasn't released it. It will release on December 15th, but it looks like it's only going to be Audible. So in other words, the goal is to have a cryptocurrency book that is less than 300 pages. It's a pretty easy read so that we can actually learn more about cryptocurrency going together and going forward. I think with the new Neon Network, for those of you who are aware of it, it will be a good learning balance between the trainings that Coach DeMont does and your own learning, and also reading a book together. So if anybody has a recommendation on that one, please help me out. Any final questions for me?
I just want to say thank you, Brandi. You're great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandi.
Thank you, Brandi.
Thanks, B.
No, thank you. Stop it. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Gracias, amiga.
Great
Mark
information.
your calendars. When's the next one, Brandi? Mark your calendars.
All right. So, yep, I did put my email as well in the chat box for those who might just want to reach out to me for whatever reason. Feel free. And then we will see you next Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget the author will be on at the end of the month. So we want to give her a good time when she comes on. So read the book, you guys. And thank you. Have a wonderful evening.